What's up, everybody? The DeFi After Party is here today. If you see on the screen, my name's Christian, by the way. I'm here with, oh, look, his name's Grover. We got Grover in the house tonight. By the way, tonight. It's today where Grover is in Australia, and it's tonight where I am in California. It's currently about 11 p.m. my time, and I'm not sure what time it is on Grover's side of the world, but
Just on six.
there we go. We had to make this work. So it was a little bit challenging, but here we are. So Grover, I know you want to, I think this is the first time you've shown your actual face like live on camera. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself and so we could get to know you a little better.
Well, first of all, my name is Graeme. Right, you all know me as Grover. Um, so I've been around in crypto, oh, geez, 8+ years now. Jesus, time flies. I didn't start off in crypto. I actually started off in hospitality as a chef and then worked into management. Because I was a manager of a five-star hotel there for a while until I had an injury which made me incapable of doing most types of work. Massive shoulder injury. So that and my epilepsy stopped me from doing a lot of, I suppose you could say, normal work. And after that, I got to try and get money coming in, because I can tell you now, disability pension ain't much. Uh, and went into crypto. Made money, lost money, been hacked, been scammed, been rugged, the whole shebang. And then found, well, EMP and AJ and Jake and some really solid projects. And from there, well, at one point I was managing crypto portfolios privately for some people. I've helped with solve problems with various projects. With various projects, I've just been around in the space doing what I do, as everyone in the chats know. And
Right.
yes, this is the first time I've doxed myself on via video. So there is a reason for that. I don't want to elaborate too much, but I am going to be going towards making my own project very soon. So I thought it would be wise to let you guys actually see my face for a change.
Yeah, number one, I it's I was having a conversation with another protocol owner the other day, and I said to him, and he's, for the lack of a better term, docs. He's, public and transparent, but what I was saying to him was, look at EMP. AJ shows up every Thursday, and how long has he been doing this for? Like years, I believe.
About
Um,
3 years, I think it is now. 3, 4 was
yeah,
with EMP. Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
And I go, regardless of, how many users or people are in a certain protocol of theirs, like Plazm, for example, which by the way, that's a good question. Maybe you can answer this right now. Technically speaking, do we know how many individual, I guess you just have to call them wallets, how many individual wallets are invested in Plazm?
Give me a minute. I can actually pop that up. I think I've got that on our lovely little Fusion watch. Leaderboard. Currently,
I guess that means like on Fusion Watch on the leaderboard, when it says like your rank, then the let's say your rank is 21, 21 out of like
21.
2000.
Currently we've got 531 listed. That may not be completely up to date, but that's the number we got.
So 500, let's just call it roundabout, 550 participants are in Plasm,
Yep,
correct? Grover? Okay,
that's
Graham.
correct. Yeah.
I don't want to call you Graham. That feels weird. And so what I was getting at was this. 550 participants in Plazm. And I get, we're kind of in the market we're in right now. I'll just call it the slow market. But the thing is the reason why, people have invested in Plazm, in Honor versus Madness, specifically speaking, the pre-sale. And I think they raised like what, somewhere between like I think it was 700 or 800,000 for Honor versus Madness, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I believe it was. I mean, I don't have those numbers, but I believe it was around that amount. There was a good amount raised to be able to get it developed.
Yeah. So, and what I'm trying to get at here for everybody watching is that if you show up consistently, especially in crypto, I mean, this goes for any business, by the way, but especially in crypto, and people can see what you look like and they can hear your voice and they can see your mannerisms and things like that, and you do it consistently every Thursday, like AJ does, and you show up on other people's AMAs, like this is what actually will build your project.
Yes,
So for Grover taking the step to, be live on camera and be public and be docs for lack of a better term, this is in my opinion, Grover, a big step towards, not only your project launching, but also to just the longevity of it for down the road.
definitely. Definitely. I mean, like I know from my point of view that when I invest in a project, the first three things that I look for is their KYC, is their docs, is their audits. First three things, like before, even before tokenomics. They're the first three things I go for, and if you've got a founder that's willing to show his face, or I understand some don't wish to show their face, but they go through a KYC company, which is understandable. People do want their privacy, but if they're willing to go through some KYC or some doxing type of thing, and be people, they build up a trust with it, and it shows trust, and it shows that you're invested, not just some guy behind the screen that's going, yeah, I'm going to build a project, make money, and disappear.
Yeah, 100%. And that's happened so much in crypto throughout the years. I mean, it's funny when you're talking about in the beginning, you've been scammed, you've been rugged. I feel like if that hasn't happened to you yet, like,
I've got a
do
little
you
bit of a
actually have
saying
your
with that.
stripes?
I've got a little bit of saying with that. If you haven't been rugged, scammed, uh, or hacked, you haven't been in crypto long enough.
Yeah. And you know what? All jokes aside, I mean, obviously we're kidding, but there is a little bit, there is some seriousness to that. But it's kind of like the same saying as like, you're not really in the game or you're not really in the war until the first bullet has gone past your head, right?
That's right.
Um,
That's right. I mean, like a DeFi and crypto, it's no longer the Wild West that it was. How long have you been in crypto now?
I believe I bought my first Bitcoin when it was like in the $3,000 range, and I feel like that was 7 years ago. I mean,
16?
I guess I could pull up the data. Yeah, like 16, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you've seen, and back in those days, as well, when DeFi first started, I mean, like what was that? That was 12, I believe. I mean, like it was just Wild West. I mean, like scam. Every other token was a scam or a meme. It was just crazy. At least now you're starting to see some good projects come in, and even projects that the institutions are looking at as well. So I mean, like it's no longer as bad as what it was, but it's still certainly something that you want to be able to get some trust in the actual the heads of whatever project it is, and best way to do that is for them to be there, show their face, and build that trust. Which, as I said, I mean, like, I am going to be organising a project, and although I've been on AMAs, I just haven't shown my face. And if I'm going to I'm going down that road. I want to show my face.
100%, which reminds me, I remember seeing, I think this was like 2 weeks ago now. I remember seeing in the Telegram chat, you would show your face if eShare hit like 50 or $60. Was that what I'm remembering?
Yes, yes. Like we were pumping there for a while, and I've gone, well, if we hit 50, if we hit eShare 50, and I think it was Plazm $6 or $7, something like that, I'll do a live docs on the spot. So yeah,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, eShare is currently sitting, I'm looking at my other computer. eShare is currently sitting at
really,
1375.
yeah.
We're a little far from that $50 mark, but yet we still have Grover here right now with his public face showing. So we got a good deal.
Got a good deal. And well, I mean, like in all honesty, I mean, like Plazm is Plazm's actually going better than expected. I mean, like, if I'm being brutally honest, I would have expected the price to be lower than what it currently is already. Um, but that's being as unbiased as possible, because just looking at some history from projects such as Taurus and those similar type projects, the price was coming down considerably by then, whereas primarily because of the BBB, we've able to maintain a reasonable floor and keep on going, chugging along.
Yeah. You know, one thing, I'm glad you're here because I value you and really respect you as the person, in the ecosystem, EMP, Plasm, and all that, that not only just from experience of crypto knows what's going on, but also basically mathematically knows what's going on. Now, I was good in math in high school. When I got to college, I took this math class. I don't even know what it was called or what number it was or whatever, but in high school, I was like in the USA, there's, at least in California, there's classes that are called honors, which is basically like, above the regular people type of stuff, right? And I was in honors pretty much all through high school. Then I got to college, and eventually they stopped talking about numbers and started talking about more like theory and accesses and blah blah blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I'm not going to space, bro. I'm in this for business stuff. That's about it. I don't need to know about accesses and blah blah blah. I'm not going to be an astronaut. I don't want to go to the moon. At the time, crypto wasn't even out yet. So, if they would have been talking about going to the moon in crypto, I would have been like, I'm all for it, let's go. But I think one of the things that I did before Plasm launched, you mentioned Taurus, was that I went and did research on Taurus before Plasm launched, because I knew that essentially Plasm was a
Yep.
fork. And so the reason I'm bringing it up, I have a lot of respect for you mathematically and all the other reasons, was because maybe if people watch this video, when we release it, Grover, that they'll start to understand more so about Plasm in a way that hasn't really been explained before. And so let me start off with something that is basically like the general idea
Yep.
that I think is really important for people to know, that they might hear it, but they don't understand it. And then you can
Yep.
kind of back it up with numbers or some sort of like, scientific rocket
I'll
fuel
I'll
data.
try and explain it. Explain it. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I was going to at one stage be an engineer, so I'm reasonable at maths. Uh,
So here's kind of like in my opinion, the original mechanics of Taurus that I believe was like one of the most brilliant things that when I saw it and heard cryptographics talking about it, I heard him saying it in a way that like basically made me understand. And one of the things I heard him say during like one of his AMAs was that he said, and again, I don't know like the technical terms and I don't know the math behind it. I just know what he said and it makes sense because I see it in Plasm. And we're excuse me, right now Plasm is really operating with a minimal buy back and burn and a buy back and build. We're
Yep.
working very minimal with that. So that means that the mechanics, the original mechanics of Taurus are basically really, keeping things very level.
Yep.
And at the same time, now that we have the real yield powering the BBB, that is, really helping it even more. And so this thing that cryptographics said, and shout out to cryptographics, man, like obviously the dude's really smart. I mean, he did something that, that what was A, never thought of, and B, he got a ton of users into his protocol, which inspired people like AJ and other people to,
Yep.
fork it or copy it or whatever you want to call it
Yep.
to have what we have today. So here's the thing that what he said, and every time I do like a video or an AMA, Grover, I like to try and drop some alpha or position something in a different way that most people will be like, oh, dude, that is so smart. Now I get it. So here's that alpha for everybody watching this video. This is what gave me the insight, before Plazm came out to understand what was going on. So I could not only see the vision of Plazm, but also, do my creation strategically and experiment as well so I can, come out on top, so to speak. Here's what that is.
Yep.
Cryptographics said the one thing that makes this protocol unique is that it is designed to keep a floor. And, when the price is going up, then it is more profitable to create. And when the price is dropping, then it's more profitable to stake. And he
Yep.
goes, you got to think about this like as a mirror. And then he's I forget exactly all the words he's saying, but he's like the protocol is designed to keep a floor. And so then when he said this, now mind you, I wasn't in Taurus at all. I'm
Mm.
just watching the videos he's talking about.
Yep.
I'm looking at the chart, the live chart of this video that I saw of his like came out, I don't know, like maybe 2 weeks before I saw it, maybe even a month. And I'm
Yep.
just looking at the live chart. And I'm like, as he's saying it, I'm looking at the chart and I'm like, dude, this is like for real. Like what he's talking about is crazy. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, Grover. Maybe you didn't know or don't know, but I believe they have more participants in Taurus than is in Plaza.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Considerably more. I mean, like they, I believe 4 or more times the number of investors in Taurus than in Plazm. Um, Obviously, more investors, it's actually enables it to work better. But we're seeing with even just our small start off percentage of investors that it is working exactly like that. I mean, it is designed to keep a floor price, right? And the best way to notice that is to throw out USD price, right? In all honesty, when you look at any real project, you really should just throw out the USD price because that 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 doesn't give you an example unless it's paired with USDC or USDT or something like that. It actually doesn't give you an accurate uh, viewpoint of how the project's going. I mean, like you want to look at a project in terms of price in its primary pair. And with Plazm, obviously, primary pair is eShare. Right? So how it's designed is, I mean, like technically, the actual balance point does move, but just for the easy understanding point of view, it's designed to keep price at around about the launch price. Right. So if you got in right at the beginning, when you created, you created at point 0.2 of each share is one Plazm. That's the ratio it was, and that's the point. That's the base point that it wants to try and naturally keep it at. Um, so what happens is if the price Just one moment. I've got a chicken getting harassed by a dog. Chicken getting harassed by a dog. The joys of... Oi! Sorry. Sorry about that.
Grover just killed a chicken live on AMA.
Well, I've got little runts of a dog chasing little baby chickens. Where was I? Right. We've got a base. It's designed to stay around the 0.2 eShare price. All right, and if you have a look, I think it's around about 0.5 at the moment. 0.15, I should say. Look, I have to pull it up.
I see 0.14, but yeah, close enough.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't looked at it all day. 0.143. I mean, like, so I mean, like, we are a little bit under, and that's why staking is more. It gives you a better return. Right. If it's below that cutoff point, which if it's below that cutoff point, that's when staking becomes more well, it gives you a much better ROI. And that's a balancing mechanism because releases, they get releases, they get staked again for another term because that's the best method to get your ROI. But also, particularly now with the easy mode, your new investors come in, they see the high ROI with your stake, and that causes buy pressure, right? And that's what brings it back up. I mean, and when I say brings it up, we're looking at the eShare price. USD price will go up and down, up and down. That's what market does, right? That's the way of crypto, the way things go. But when you're looking at how a project is going, you're looking at that base pair, and when it's below that's that's. I mean, like there is a band where it's different, but we don't need to go into technicalities. Around that 0.2 eShare mark. If it's below that, ROI stakes best. It causes buy pressure, brings it back up. As soon as it hits that mark, flicks back over to create. So create then becomes better ROI, and it naturally brings that equilibrium. Obviously, then you have all sorts of other things happen, like large releases and dumps and all of that. But as a general rule, the mechanics keep it at around about that point. Does that clarify things or make things muddier?
No, it's totally. I think it's very crystal clear. I mean, essentially, like let's say the line, the the cost line or per eShare line or per Plazm line is here in the middle, and every time basically if the price is going up, then it's better, then the ROI and the dApps is better to create.
Yep.
So basically it's like you said, it's keeping it balanced, as much as possible. And what I believe is super cool about it as well is that, and I don't know, I've never asked AJ this question. Maybe you know the answer, but I mean, obviously, AJ likes to keep things in the ecosystem, but why was Plazm paired with eShare versus any other token, whether it's another EMP token or not? Because, for example, Taurus paired with Titan X, I believe. I'm not very familiar with that ecosystem, but I think that's what it paired with. And I think if that's true that they pair with Titan X, I think essentially what cryptographics was betting on was that Titan X was going to take a run up and therefore drag the price of Taurus with it. I believe. I could be totally wrong about that.
Yeah, that's what would happen. I mean, like there are a couple of a couple of reasons I know of. There are probably more that AJ has. First of all, obviously keeping it within the ecosystem, giving a use case for eShare, which then means that it's more valuable. Its price is likely to go up. The second one is that by pairing it with eShare, which is an extraordinarily low supply, fixed supply token. I mean, like we're talking 60K tokens. That's it. Right, or there's abouts, but 60K tokens, that is extraordinarily low supply. Dogs, one moment, I've just got to go move it. Go get it. Come on, chicken. Chicken.
Well, so while Grover is gone, now if we hear a gun go off, you didn't hear that. You didn't see it.
Sorry about that.
I just told
Sorry,
everybody, Grover, if we hear a gun go off, we didn't hear it, we didn't see it.
Well, all right. The other reason is by being such a low fixed supply token. Right, there are a few, and our own ecosystem token. There are some things that we can do, and some things that it actually naturally does. First thing is that we can do is we can massively while there's no minting happening, we can massively control the supply in regards to burning. So what we can do is, and we are doing, is we've got burn mechanisms to drastically reduce the eShare supply. So that means that supply-demand metrics are heavily swayed in the demand side. Great thing for price to go up. So not only that, the EMP ecosystem has got a number of projects in the works that are adding use cases for eShare, and a little alpha. My one will have a use case. Use cases for eShare, which again increases the supply demand, supply demand, and helps push that price back up. Now, the other, I don't actually think it was realised until it actually showed its head. But the other thing that happens by pairing it with with eShare is it acts as an upstream throttle. Now, the best way to think about that is we've got Plazm, which has more liquidity than eShare. Right? eShare's liquidity, I believe, is at around about 50, 60K. And Plazm, I think, is at around about 100K at the moment. I haven't had a look today. I've been too busy. Yeah, Plazm's at 95K and eShare's at 54K from what I can see there. So I mean, like, nearly Plazm's got nearly double the liquidity than eShare does. So it acts as an upstream throttle. So yes, okay, someone can dump a large quantity of Plazm and get eShare, right? But if they wish to dump that out of eShare into ETH, then they get slammed again with price impact. So the yes, okay, that can cause the price to go down, but anyone that's really taking profits doesn't want to get hammered with price impact. So they'll take it out in smaller amounts, which means that they've got to take it out in small amounts out of Plazm, but then they've got to take it out in even smaller amounts with eShare. And all of this means that it slows down the price impact curve, right? It's obviously, when people dump, you're not going to stop it from going down, but you've slowed it down and you've made it more manageable. And by have that and to a certain extent control over the amount of liquidity, because a lot of the liquidity, well, I think 90% of the liquidity of eShare is protocol owned. Plazm, again, I think it's about 95% protocol owned. It enables us to be able to control how bad a dump is, in all honesty. I mean, like, if someone wants to dump 1 million tokens, they're going to have to bring it down into small chunks just to get it out without getting hammered. I mean, absolutely annihilated with slippage, right? it also enables the buyback and burn. This system here, the dichotomy, I suppose you could call it, of eShare and Plazm, is it enables the buyback and burn to dramatically bolster price on the rebound, right? Because what's happening is you've got an amount of money from the buy and burn, let's say $100, right? eShare's down because someone's dumped. Plazm's down because someone's dumped. Let's even say Plazm's down at 5 cents, right? Let's say Plazm's down at 5 cents and eShare's gone down to $1, right? That's taking some really horrible numbers, but let's just say that, right? So that means the buy and burn, right, because it's USDC, it has to buy eShare first, being such a low supply token and a relatively low liquidity. So it buys that, right? It buys that eShare, and automatically you've got a bolstering of price, not just for eShare, but for Plazm, right? Now, because Plazm's paired with eShare, it's actually not technically costing any more to buy the same amount of Plazm because it's a eShare pairing. Now, obviously, the eShare price of Plazm will be down. So those eShare are needed to buy Plazm. And because price is down, it can buy a shite load of Plazm. And I really mean it has the ability to rapidly buy up millions of Plazm, right, with only a small amount of funds very rapidly from a dump. And that's one of the really strong benefits of having eShare as a token. And it's a good reason, not just to, I mean, like, obviously, I recommend invest in Plazm, invest in Fusion, but it also is a great reason to be buying the dips of eShare and holding on, right? Because there are use cases in the works, and you want to be getting it while it's low, right? Because a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long in the future, right, there's going to be considerably more use cases, right? So its price, right, and I'm not just saying, yeah, it will happen. The price will be going up. I'm not going to, I can't say to what, but just purely because of supply and demand metrics, because we've got burns happening on eShare, burns happening on Plazm, right? Both of them are having both of them are fixed supply. So supply is constantly is going down. Demand for eShares is going to be increasing. There is projects and use cases on the way. Supply and demand, that's how all markets work. If supply is going down, demand's going up, price goes up. That's how it is. That's just how it is.
Yeah, well, and that's why I myself, Grover, have been making. I think my three last videos before this one have all been about eShare because I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it like 60,000, 60,000 or so token supply, and I go, and I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, what if, you know, I mean, it's very possible. If you look at like the top, I think 10 holders, obviously some of them might be some protocol owned wallets or whatever, or treasury wallets or whatever. But if you look at like the top 10 wallets, maybe even top 20, they
Yep.
they all have like about 1,000 or so eShare at least. Some of them more, some of whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, all it takes is six people to have 10,000 e-shares, and there's the supply, right? So I'm like, okay. And it drives me, it really is mind-boggling to me. And this is going to lead into like another question about eShare in relation to Plazm, but it's really mind-boggling to me why when people are selling, selling their Plazm and getting eShare, I know people want to take profit, like profit into ETH, but you got to be looking at eShare and be like, I think there's something here, you know?
Yeah. Well,
And so
as I said, I mean, like there 100% is right. Okay. Yes, I won't deny at the moment that there's only a limited number of use cases, but I know that there, well, there's one that's going to be released very, very soon. Fusion itself is on the verge of being the new Fusion is being pumped out. That's going to that in itself is a product that puts constant buy pressure on eShare just by its pure mechanics. How it operates every minute of every day, it puts buy pressure on eShare. So that's just Fusion. Then there's a project on the way. I've got a project on the way that's going to have a use case for eShare, um, and that's just what I know about. AJ's got God's knows how many how many others sitting in the background are going to happen as they happen. So I mean, like there are it's it's going to be a major coin for the entire ecosystem. So you'll be able to go into Plazm, you'll be able to go into this, you'll be able to go into that, all with the one coin, and all with buy mechanisms to ensure that there's constant buy pressure on it. There are going to constantly be burn mechanisms to reduce supply, and so on. So I mean, like right now, realistically speaking, eShare is monumentally undervalued, right? I mean, I do try to be fair and not get all hype over things, but realistically speaking, you have to look at the numbers and the tokenomics. Extremely low supply, right? Extremely low supply. eShare already is deflationary, right? It already is highly deflationary. It's fixed cap, right? More things coming in, more use cases, more buy pressure, and more burn pressure. I don't know. Can you see any things there that don't say holy moly, eShare is undervalued and you really ideally should be getting it at these low prices?
exactly. And that's, all it the funniest thing, Grover, about this AMA is essentially everything, me and you don't, this is the first time me and Grover have ever talked like in a live video setting. We've never called each other. We've DM'd here and there just about more like, just Plasm, so, Plasm bug issues,
Yep,
and then all the other chat between us has been publicly in the Telegram groups, Plasm and EMP. But what's interesting is everything that's been said thus far on this video, on this AMA, are things that I have talked about either in my last three videos or in all my videos leading up to this, specifically about transparency and why you should be, investing in teams and people that are transparent and that are consistently showing up, and
definitely.
also too about eShare specifically. And I think it was the last video I did where I said fusion's coming, and if you just do some roundabout numbers and think about this, fusion's paying rewards in eShare, which means it has to buy the eShare off the market to pay
That's right.
everybody out. And I go, I think the example I used was like a $500,000 revenue coming in. I think that was per month. I said it as an example, and then essentially I was just like, look at this person right here. They own this much percent of the protocol. They're gonna get
Yep,
paid every month. I think it was like $1,000 per month or something like
yep,
that. And I
yep.
go, if you think about this, and there's just what did I say? I think I said if there's just 100 people, that's 100,000 people, or excuse me, $100,000 worth of rewards being paid out every month, which means $100,000 of buy pressure on eShare every month.
Well, I mean, like you don't even have to go numbers that you don't even really have to go numbers that big to see how much of an impact. I mean, like let's pick some low numbers. Let's say $10,000 a month, which is some low numbers. right? That's $10,000 worth of buy pressure. And I hear people say, well, if they're earning it, they're just going to sell it. All right. Yes and no. I mean, like, what, how it works is when you've got something that isn't emitting tokens and has to buy the distribution token because Fusion's not earning in eShare. It's not earning that revenue in eShare. That revenue comes from all the various projects that EMP and DexFi are in. It's coming from bonds. It's coming from a variety of sources. And none of those sources, the revenue is in eShare, right? So all of that revenue has to buy eShare. So there's your first bit of buy pressure, right? Now, even if every single eShare that was earned was sold, right? It's not it is still a positive buy pressure because of liquidity, how liquidity works, right? Because of the fees in the buying and the selling, it actually works out to be a net positive at all times. And I can guarantee you that's I mean, like, you've got EMP investors in Fusion. You've got a whole heap of people invested in Fusion, and they're also invested in Plazm. They're also invested that there's EMP's got a really strong community, and yeah, there are going to be people that are going to take profits. By all means, I I never say don't take profits. I highly recommend take profits, right? But be sensible about it, obviously, right? So there's never going to be a situation where 100% of the earnings is sold, right? So if you're earning $10,000 a month of buy pressure, and let's say 90% sold, that's still $1,000 worth of buy pressure. I'd eat my hat if that much was sold, but that's the point I'm making. I mean, like, just that one system. I mean, like, that's only Fusion, right? Uh, it's all. I mean, like, not only that. I mean, like, you've got there's the marketplace in Fusion. You have to buy using Ethereum, right? And back end, that ends up also buying additional eShare, because some of those that goes into the earnings of Fusion, of people in Fusion. It's all feeding into the ecosystem, into the economics of the ecosystem, designed to push it up. That's why eShare really is an undervalued token. I mean, and I don't get me wrong, I always recommend taking sensible profits, right? Because you never know what the market's going to do. And if you've got $1,000 that you've earned, take 10%, take 20%, sure, go for it. Don't cheat out, because you're only going to screw yourself in the long run. But take profits, because you never know when the market's going to crap the bed.
100%, man. 100%. I'm a eShare maxi, man. That's why, and I wasn't from the beginning.
Yeah,
When I got into the ecosystem was at the tail end of EMP.
yep,
Um, and I think I might have been in EMP for maybe, I don't know, 6 months
mm-hmm,
before it kind of transitioned to Fusion. It might have been a little longer than 6 months, but I wasn't in like a year or even 2 years
yep,
or whatever. I was never in Detonator or any of those things. I did buy, I think it was one of the NFTs. I forget which one it was. Um, and so that was like, spitting out a couple little, rewards here and there. And then like I saw, R2R, Rec to Riches, Thomas G. I saw some of his videos talking about EMP, and I had already been, just rugged and scammed, and I lost like a lot. Lost like 20K, man. And I was just like, there has to be something else out there. And that's how I, eventually found EMP. And then I just basically started saying, I saw like, I think it was like the vaults, or I don't remember what they were called, but I saw something. Grover, are you still there? You look frozen on my side. Oh, he might be gone. So I'll keep talking. So I got invested in some vaults in EMP, and essentially it was like you could zap into one vault and basically stake. I don't know, maybe it wasn't a vault. I think it was called just staking, and you could stake. Oh, Grover's back. You could stake EMP and get eShare, or maybe it was the reverse. Stake eShare and get EMP. I don't remember.
Hang on a minute. I dropped out there, or you dropped out, or someone dropped out, but I
Yeah,
missed a whole heap of that.
you were frozen for a little bit, and I noticed you were like this. And so then I was like, oh crap, we lost Grover. What I was saying was basically I got into EMP and I had been rugged already, you know. Oh, you're frozen again. Oh, okay. I don't know if maybe he's having some internet issues. Anyways, the bottom line is that um I got rugged pretty hard and EMP basically kind of saved my life, if you will. Like brought me back to life, with what I was doing at the current time. And then I hopped on AMAs like you guys are all hopping on, and then that's how I got to know AJ, and see the transparency and the consistency of the team showing up every Thursday. Fusion's coming, da 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 da, and finally it came. And so when it finally came, hey Grover, you're back
I'm
again.
back. Sorry about that. It's having some having some fun. The joys and the joys of Outback of Outback Internet.
I think the problem is that you kicked the chickens out of the way, and
Ah,
now
that's what it was.
they're giving
Speaking
you
of which,
they're
they're back.
giving they're, they're giving you good Wi-Fi,
Unfortunately, they're
man, and
back.
now you. Anyways, the short story, Grover, is that I basically got rugged and lost a ton of
Yeah,
money. But EMP kind of like saved my life or gave me a new life, I should say.
yeah,
And then the trust and transparency with the EMP team, was just there from the get-go. So
yeah,
I went from old EMP to new Fusion, and then with new Fusion, went pretty heavy in that.
mm,
Not super whale status, but just I believed in the cause. I believed in the team, and I'm like, you know what? This is kind of like where I'm going to plant my flag because not
yeah,
only are they doing things right, but I know that they're going to keep building protocols to support, the ecosystem in general and just always make things better.
yeah,
And that's what you want to do in any business that you are a customer or a client of. It's like you always want to do business with people that treat you right, So that's like why I'm here. And
yeah,
then comes Plazm, and here we are.
yeah. Well, I mean, like EMP and DexFi. I mean, like they're both projects. They've been 3+ years, going for 3+ years, and for that entire time, right? They went through. They were building through building through some serious bear movement, and come out the other end. I mean, like, and they're the projects that you want to be planting. As I said,
We lost Grover again. I'll hopefully he's still there.
I'm
Oh,
sorry, move that chicken as well.
you're
Right.
you're
The
go ahead.
EMP is it's actually saying that your bandwidth is low. But anyhow, um, so it's EMP and DexFi are the types of projects that you want to be planting your flag in because they're building through the hard times to make profits in the in the booms, and they're the ones that survive, and they're the ones that keep on going. Just 1 second, I've got a dog about to chew on a chicken.
Uh-oh, go for it. And while he's handling his animals, his farm, I'll say one thing. Um, what Grover just said about, building through the bear market or a slow market, whatever
I
you want
do
to call it.
apologize for that.
It's all good. What I was telling everybody, Grover, was that you mentioned building through the bear market or a slow market, and I think one of the coolest things specifically about DexFi is that if you're invested in DexFi, whether that's the bonds or the vaults,
Yep.
and you're in a smart play. When I say play, I mean, smart uh, token or protocol that's in one of the vaults, and you are, basically auto compounding. Every vault has a certain profit and compound ratio, and
100%. Yeah.
so if you are compounding, you know, 25% or above through this bear market, then guess what's going to happen when a bull market or a market starts to take off, or even a coin for whatever takes off during a bear market,
100%.
then
I
boom,
mean, like,
you could
kaboom.
10x.
I mean, like the way to really look at it is it's easy to build a successful project in a bull market. I mean, like it's almost a you can't fail. Bloody dog. One moment again. I really do apologize for that. I'm going to have to murder this dog.
Hey, y'all heard it. He says he's gonna murder the dog. So if you guys want to call
Thank you.
animal control, or in America it's called
Five,
Child Protective
five
Services.
kids, 5 kids in the bush. Got chickens. Got ducks. Got got 10 acres of bush. Um, it's all happening here.
I think
Um,
I think you need a
oh,
crypto mining house on your land, Grover.
man, it can be insane. Really can. I mean, like it's beautiful, but like it can be insane.
Hmm. Yep.
No, but as I say, I mean, like it's easy to build a project. I mean, like you almost can't fail building a project in a bull market. I mean, like uh, but it's the ones that are successful or build during the bear that are the ones you want to be in investing in. In the times when it's not easy to be making money, the ones that are making money are the ones you want to be in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I've seen, I was I've been in basically one bull market. Um and I saw projects, launching, I think I'm a, I didn't really know what the bull market was when it was happening, because I was basically a newbie investor and I didn't know what the hell was what. I'm like, and I never knew anything about stocks or any of that, regular investing type stuff. So I never knew any of these terms. People are talking
Yeah,
about bull market, bear market, like bull run, and I was like, what is this? So I had to Google it. I'm like, oh, okay, so that means like the market's hot right now. Okay, I got it.
yeah,
But I believe the bull market that I was in, it was when all the ICOs were popping off like simultaneously every day, every hour, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so that was an exciting time to be in crypto, because,
yeah.
Bitcoin and
Was
ETH and BNB and all those things were extremely, you know, cheap in comparison to now. And
yeah.
and YouTubers were getting tons of views just super easily. I think the YouTube algorithm was working in their favor then, and now it's kind of not. But it was an exciting time to be in crypto, and
It's there's
I
there's some interesting ones that have been there. I mean, like Tomb Fork season. Oh, that was wow.
right, yeah. Again, I wasn't really part of that, because I didn't, I wasn't, that was like DeFi 1.0, and I was
Yep.
not. I didn't. I was too green. I was too much of a newbie to see or understand any of that kind of stuff. All
Mm.
I knew was, you know, buy Bitcoin, hold it. I mean, I will say, I was exposed to DeFi 1.0 because I was in BitConnect, just like millions of
Yep.
other people were, So yeah, I did experience like, DeFi 1.0, but I didn't, I wasn't part of like the real original launch of EMP and all the other similar
Yeah.
protocols and such, but it was an exciting time.
It
And
was a crazy time.
yeah, and we're all looking forward to, the next, official bull run when, the news is talking about crypto again. I mean, I don't think I've heard the news talk about crypto in, I don't know, like 2 years now, you know?
Well, well, like we can go a little bit into the market, but I mean, like in all honesty, crypto in itself is totally different now. It's in a good and a bad way. Right, we've got there's some guardrails that have come in, which is brought which has brought in the institutions, which is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is it means that it's retail adoption, a lower barrier for entry for people that have no idea with crypto. They can just go to JP Morgan, whatever. They can get ETFs and they can get involved. You've got super funds now that have Bitcoin, have Ethereum, have all of that and all of that involved. But on the flip side of the coin is now we have market manipulation, and I mean serious market manipulation. All right. Uh, Obviously, the big guys can't go out and flaunt that they're doing it, but the reality of the matter is that's JP Morgan, all of those big guys, they have billions of dollars in it now. And it's not small change. It's billions. All right. And that enables them to be able to they'd call it subtle influence, but the market, they can influence the market, and they are. I mean, like you look at the charts and you can't deny it. I mean, like they're setting up a massive shorts. They're setting up a massive short squeeze at the moment. If you have a look at the liquidation map, it's starting to look really nice for a big boom. It'll liquidate. Last time I looked, around about $3 billion worth of shorts if we had a spike, and it would pump us right back up over 100K. And that's exactly what the big guys want. They want it to come down into the 80s. They want to buy. They want to accumulate down there. They want, because they've got shareholders, right? And the fact of the matter is, those big guys, they can't make a loss. Their shareholders would crucify them, right, if they made a loss. So they're going to go, okay, the price is down. They won't let it drop too far, right? We 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 aren't no longer going to see the massive bull bear cycles that we had, simply because the big boys are playing, right? You'll see decent sized pullbacks, right? Then you'll see the big boys starting to slowly accumulate, and then you'll see a pump, and they make their millions. Their shareholders are happy, and anyone that's been screwed along the way, well, they don't really care. Uh, so, I mean,
Right, right,
it's as AJ said, if any a bull market that we have from here is likely to be a much longer bull market. It may still reach the same type of highs, but it will be over a much longer period of time. Uh, Bear markets, they won't be as bad. We're not going to be seeing 80% pullbacks like you have in past cycles, because that the big guys just won't allow it.
right. Yep. And you know, I I guess, this is a good thing for like newbie investors, because really newbie investors, this is generally speaking, they, and even people that are maybe not newbie, but they've been in crypto for maybe like a year or so, maybe even longer, but they've never suffered a gigantic loss. The emotional control it takes to be, involved in crypto or invest in crypto is, you need to have, you need to be able to take a punch, because had I, let my emotions control me when essentially I got rugged for like 20K. Like
Yeah.
I for some people they would be that's it. It's lights out for them. They're not
No, well,
they're
some
not coming
people
back.
that's like, oh geez, life saving gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And or it affects them for the rest of their life, and
Oh,
they walk around depressed, and or maybe they start
oh,
doing some kind
definitely.
of crazy stuff.
It is extraordinarily hard, particularly when there are with the past massive swings that the bull bear had, is to not um, buy into the FUD and go, oh crap, it's down 60%. I need to get out before it goes to zero. Right? It's very
Mhm.
hard to go, no, that's only a loss if I get out now. Right? You've got to be, and the one factor that can help you with that is knowing that you've invested in a good team, right? Right? A good team will produce a good product, right? And yes, there are going to be times when you look at it and you go, holy crap, it looks like the world's ending. Or maybe I should get out before I lose it all. Everyone gets it, right? But the fact is, when you've got a good team, which both DexFi and EMP really are, I have found very few founders and CEOs in DeFi that are as transparent and upfront and really care about their investors, like AJ and Jake. So once you've found these types of projects, it is a case of you have to turn into those diamond hands, because 5, 10 years down the track, that's when you'll be going, I'm so glad that I held through that dump, because now I've got so much more.
Yep. And I didn't get to buy a bunch of eShare at $6, but I bought enough. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah, well, I
like,
mean,
go ahead.
so that yeah, there's still going to be plenty of times to get eShare. I mean, like, I don't really like throwing numbers around, but don't be surprised if we're looking at three to four digits eShare early next year. That's something I
Hmm.
really wouldn't be surprised at. And when you think about that, I mean, like, that's what, 5 times from here at least, if it's three digits. So I mean,
Hmm.
that and that's because it is monumentally undervalued. All right. I mean, like, I was around in the days where you were looking at 2K eShare. eShare was 2K. And the swing trading that was happening on was absolutely insane. Right, you'd have people
Hmm.
buying at 600, selling at 2.5K, and then it was just, oh, well, yeah, crazy and crazy. And back then it was a V2 liquidity pair. So I mean, like, if we had that volatility in trade now on the V3 liquidity pair, the APR on liquidity providing for that would be something in the 1 to 2% a day.
Mm. Interesting. And I have a question. I got some questions about Dexes specifically, and tokens and liquidity and what have you. Because I think I'm pretty sure you have. I think I've seen in Telegram that you have a pretty good understanding. You've seen, the math about it. You've read documentation or whatever. Because it's just very interesting to me how all that works. Not from the point of view of like I want to know how it works, but more so because when you're buying a token, it's kind of like if it has low liquidity, what should you be looking for so that you're buying either at the right time or you're buying very strategically so you get not the best deal on price specifically, but that you don't have so much price impact whether you're buying or selling.
Right.
um, because it's like I see. the chart sometimes, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, well, we didn't have a big, we didn't have a big movement like eShare, for example. We didn't have a big movement in ETH. Why did the price jump really high when someone only bought very little? Or why did the price drop a lot when someone sold very little and vice versa? And so, this
Right.
has always just been kind of like questions in the back of my head that like, that's interesting. Because I feel like if we can understand this, that, not only does it help this ecosystem, but it helps everybody just with crypto in general.
Well, I suppose first thing I'm going to ask is, what do you understand about liquidity provision?
Zero.
Nothing. Zero.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there are two main types of liquidity provision. Okay, there's your standards that were like what there used to be with like Pancake Swap V3 liquidity, right? Which would mean that you would have one half would be supplied in one token, and exactly the same value of the other half would be in the other token, right? So there would always be 50% one token, 50% the other token, and it used what is known as a constant product formula to be able to calculate the buy price and so forth. I could go into that maths, but there's no real necessity. It basically makes it so it's not a linear change when you buy things, right? It's when price is low, it's easier to push the price up. The higher the price gets, the harder it gets to push the price up. All right, so it's a curve. It's a curve, or actually, it's a curve like that. Now that's V2 liquidity. That's the old one. All right. We now have V3 concentrated liquidity. Now, best way to think about that is it's kind of like a cross between your normal liquidity pair and a centralized exchange order book. Right? When you provide liquidity for a concentrated liquidity pair, it's not spread over from price zero to price infinity. You get to choose the areas where you put your liquidity, right, and how wide the range is, because you're no longer just providing it for all prices. You go, okay, I think the price is going to stay in this range, right? So I provide my liquidity in this range, and as a result, you get the fees of how much your portion of that liquidity is. So let's take, for example, let's say you've got token A plus USDC in V3 liquidity, and you say I reckon token A is going to stay in the range of $1 to $2. I'm going to put 10K in there, and that then the system then goes, okay, you actually own half of the pool in that range, right? You might actually, in that range, whatever it is, you may own a large portion. You may own a small, but let's say you own half of all of the liquidity in that range. So that means that out of all of the fees, when it's trading in that area, right, you're getting basically half of the fees coming to you, right? That's why with V3 liquidity mining, you can have high APR without needing emissions. V2, you needed emissions to get decent returns, because the fees were absolutely nothing. That you'd get were absolutely nothing. So people are always either minting tokens to give out as rewards to encourage people to provide liquidity, and so forth. Now, that's basically how V3 works, but there are some issues with it doing it that way. Right? It means that there will be some areas of the liquidity provision where there's lots of liquidity, and there will be some areas of the liquidity that there are very little liquidity. So instead of being a curve of liquidity, it ends up being what's known as a whole heap of ticks, right, of amounts of a liquidity in each price range, right? So it could be a sort, it could be up, down, up, down, up, down. It could be a huge chunk here, a small chunk there, and so forth. And when you've got deep liquidity, when you're in a section that's got deep liquidity, you can either sell or buy a large amount and it won't have a huge impact. Whereas if you're in an area which has low depth, right, a sell or a buy is going to have much larger impact. Right? So a provider has to manage where their liquidity is, because if it's not in the range, they're not earning anything off it. So a liquidity provider has to keep their liquidity in range to earn fees. Now this is where DexFi has got an absolutely brilliant system. I'm sure that you've heard AJ talk about AILM, right? Now we don't need to go into details how it works, right? Because that's a whole different topic. but
Uh-oh. We might have lost
it
Grover
looks at news
again.
feeds. It looks at all these different all. I think I'm just going to hold this chicken. My puppy dog might not try. It looks at a whole heap of ranges of information, and then goes, okay, there's high volatility, so we want a wide range so we don't go out of range and end up incurring impermanent loss. Or it'll go, okay, it's not volatile at all. It's been very, very stable. So it reduces the width of liquidity, so you get more fees out of that liquidity. Right. So it's better capital efficiency, but there is the chance of there being areas of liquidity where there may be high impact or there may be virtually no impact, depending on where the liquidity provision is. Now, how does that affect eShare and Plazm? Both eShare and Plazm are V3 liquidity pools. All right. So in other words, they do have that factor with it. Plazm, the majority of the liquidity pool is spread across the protocol owned liquidity. You can actually jump in a vault. There is a vault for you to jump in to provide liquidity and earn fees on and so forth. That's on Dex vaults. But the majority of the liquidity is provided by is protocol owned, and the majority of it is across the entire range of price, which means that it acts in a similar manner to a V2 pool. It's got a smoother liquidity distribution, and there is an area which the AILM maintains a higher amount of liquidity in the center area. So if you looked at how the liquidity provision was, it would look like a bell curve. All right. And when you're in that bell curve area, in the high area of the bell curve, slippage is relatively low. When you're getting in the tail end, slippage starts to go up, but the ALM starts moving where the liquidity is to help prevent that slippage. Now, eShare, again, it's a V3 liquidity pair, but it has a much larger portion that is controlled directly by the AILM. So while there is liquidity across the whole range, right, that is protocol owned, there is also a large portion of liquidity that is wherever it's been placed and also in control by the ALIM. So as a general rule, the slippage with our pairs is going to be better than a V2, right? And depending on how volatile it is and how quickly it's catching up with the volatility, you're going to be getting a better deal on average than what you would with a V2 or unmanaged V3 liquidity pair.
So let me ask a question.
Yep.
When the liquidity, let's just stick to eShare here because the eShare liquidity is lower.
Yeah.
When the eShare liquidity gets higher, let's say right now I think we said it's like at like 54K, right?
Yep.
Let's say it gets up to, let's say it 10x's from that. Let's say it gets up to 500K. Does that necessarily mean that the
Yep.
higher the liquidity, the less price impact we're going to have when we go to sell or buy?
It can, and as a, it okay, it can, but it all depends on the split of eShare uh, to to uh, to F at the time that you're purchasing, right? Um, as the price goes up, the range will be moved up by the AILM, and you're getting less slippage. Now, just quickly looking at the how the liquidity is on eShare, we've got, if you look into it, as I said, it's a V3 liquidity pair, and there's 31K worth of eShare and 23K worth of Ethereum. All right. So there's more eShare in the pool than there is Ethereum. It's not definitely not 50-50, right? Which means that buying eShare at the moment, you're not going to get hammered with price impact. You're going to be able to buy a decent amount of liquidity of eShare, right, without having to worry about, oh crap, I bought $10,000 worth and I only got $9 worth, because the eShare is there to be bought, right? On the flip side, if you're wanting to dump, it's going to discourage you. It's going to discourage you because there's less liquidity for you to dump. Right. So if you were to dump $10,000 worth, you might get hit with 20% price impact, or whatever it works out to be. But because there's less F in the pool than there is eShare, selling's going to be the one that gets you the price impact. Buying's going to be a nice smooth buy purchase.
Gotcha. So I learned something new today. I never realized or understood this, which is, whatever, I guess it's maybe not really all dependent on how much money is in the liquidity, but more so what is the ratio of the pair. And in
Yeah,
this example, you said there's more eShare available than ETH in the liquidity pool, which means if we go to buy it, there'll be less price impact as compared to selling it. So
that's right.
that's interesting. And
Yeah.
um, does it show on Dex Screener somewhere where it shows, like, I know it shows how much liquidity in dollar value there is, but is there somewhere where it
Yeah,
says like,
go on into go in, actually click on the screen of the token, and then uh it'll have under, it'll show you wrap Ethereum. You'll
is
have
that
your line.
a stray wolf?
No, that's one of my annoying little dogs chasing after the chicken again.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see it. Pulled
Yep,
eShare, pulled WETH. Okay, got it, got it, got it,
yep,
got
got
it.
it. Now,
And see, I've seen that before. I just went right by it. That's my fault.
and, right, and the pups found something else to bark at. Sweet. But yeah, that's where you can get an idea of which way your slippage is going to be higher. I mean, like it also enables, particularly if you have protocol, a majority of it's protocol owned liquidity, you then are actually able to, you are then able to do some interesting things with it. I mean, like you're able to set up all sorts of things, like you can set up a sell wall with the liquidity, or and so basically what happens is uh, instead of having, or they set up a large bloody dogs. All right, 1 second.
When old Mick Grover had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Don't you dare, you little mutt. Leave it alone. You can do things like you can reduce the liquidity down on the downside, which makes it less attractive to sell. This is if you have the majority of the liquidity or is protocol owned. You can set up sell or buy walls where if you don't want the price to drop below a certain point, you can make it so that it'll drop to a point, and then there's just a whole heap of liquidity where it'll basically slam into, and it won't drop much further. V3 liquidity is a brilliant thing, and it's underutilized, to tell you truthfully. People don't realize how much you can do with it if you know how it works. I mean, like even there's so many protocols that don't understand how they can utilize it to enhance their project.
Well, that's all the more so or the better off you're going to be, Grover, when your protocol launches because, you have all this, insight to the industry and specifically what we're talking about with liquidity that, it's just really all it takes. This is my opinion. All it takes specifically this industry, but also regular business as well, is if you have a great product followed up by great marketing. You have
Yep.
those two things, you'll come out such a winner. And not only that, but I always use this example too, Grover. I always say you don't need to be the best hamburger. You don't need to be the best, construction. I own a construction business, a remodel business. I
Yep.
do additions and kitchens and bathrooms and things like that. Um, and so, I do marketing for my own company. And so
Yep.
I know about all these things just because of experience. But one of the biggest things that I tell, and I also do like business consulting and marketing consulting too.
Mhm.
But one of the biggest things I always try to drill into my consulting clients' heads is you don't need to have the best product. You just really need to know how to market. Case in point, McDonald's is not the best burger at all around. They know, however, how to market, and they
Yep.
understand that if they put their physical store on the busiest corner of your city, of your town, of the area that you live in, and they know that every person that goes through the drive-through is worth $10 or whatever their numbers might be, that they just need to find the traffic to come walk in or go through their thing or go through the drive-through, and they're making 10, 20, $30,000 per day easy.
Yep. That's exactly right. Exactly. You want to. I mean, like you don't need to have the best product. You need to have a solid product, and know how and where to market it.
Right,
It's
100%.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, like, I mean, as I mentioned, I've worked in hospitality. I've worked in retail. I've been management. I've been quite a few different things until I found that I was really good at crypto. um, and it all does come. I mean, like I've always done the back office and those types of things as well, and that's exactly it. You don't obviously having the best product helps, but you don't need to have the best product. You need to know how to market your product, who to market it to, and where to market it. If you've got a half decent product and you can market, and you've got the marketing side of it down, you're off to a good winning start. At least you're better off than 90% of other businesses.
Yep, 100%. And that's why I always tell my clients, I'm like, you know, because the marketing that they are doing, because a lot of them are running their own business. They're
Mm.
not working for somebody else. And I'm like, look, the number one skill you need to focus on if you want to make six figures a year and above is learn how to market. And if you can't do it yourself or you don't have time to do it yourself, then then hire an agency or hire someone to do it for you,
Yeah.
because really, just like I said, the marketing is what beats out the rest of your competition, even
Mm.
if they have a better product or service than you.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Mm.
Well, Grover, let's see. I think we've been on this call like an hour and a half or so.
Something like
Um,
that. Something
yeah,
like that.
with chickens and dogs and
Chickens and dogs and everything happening. Hey,
lions and
old,
tigers and bears.
old McGrover had a farm.
Yeah, exactly. But before we go, let me ask you this question. I like asking this question to people. Um, what do you believe? I think the very first time I asked AJ about, I think the very first kind of AMA I ever did with him was about DexFi, specifically about
Yep.
the bonds.
Yep.
But I'm going to ask you, and this is in regards to crypto in general, or maybe it's even Plazm.
Mm.
But what do you think is the like some alpha that or something people are missing? Again, it could be about crypto, it could be about Plasm. I mean, most people are going to see this video are going to be like all the Plasm maniacs. But what do you think is the number one thing people are missing, or a piece of alpha, or something that when they hear it, they're going to be like, that makes sense, or oh, I never thought about that before, or how did I miss this, and hopefully it's something that whatever you're about to say is something like we've never heard before. I mean, maybe it is something we've heard before, but just in a different way.
Well, I mean, the one thing I will always say is have a long-term mindset, whether that's with crypto in general, Plasm, EMP, or DexFi, or any project. You need to have a long-term mindset, right? The second thing I will always say is, uh, don't be afraid to take sensible profits. Um, Now, by sensible profits, I mean it's not like slam out 50% of what you've earned type thing. I mean, it's taking 5, 10, 15% of your gains, right? Particularly to cover your initial outlay, right? That way, you've covered your ass. You'll get your initial back. You're starting to make profits, and if the market or the product or the project bombs out, you're better off. Right. The worst thing you can do with any project is really, well, I'm not sure whether I like the word, but it seems to have become popular. Is cheat out, right? Because you're just screwing yourself. You're not only screwing yourself, but you're screwing everyone else in the project in the long run. It's it can be very hard to have a long-term mindset, but it is very, very important. Other things that are important is particularly now, steer clear of anything with Ponzonomics. Just steer if you look at it and you go, where is the money coming in from? And the money's only coming from new investors, it's the project is fundamentally flawed. It is not going to survive. Right? It's just mathematically going to at some point collapse in on itself. Right? It just how it is. So stay away from your Ponzonomics. So first thing you need to these when I look at a project, I go, is it doxed? Is it KYC? Is it audit? Is it Ponzi? All right. If those if you've got the three safety boxes checked and it's not a Ponzi, that's when you go, okay, let's have a look deeper into it. All right, that's when you look deeper into it, and that's when you go, okay, I'll start off small, but go in with a long term mindset. All right. that really is. I mean, like you've got with the broader crypto market, you've got 4 year cycles, right? So you want to at least be thinking 4 year, a 4 year mark, right? Because that's the period where you're going to really make the gains, right? And if you've been taking little bits of profit along the way, at the end of that, you're going to be in a stage where you've got 100K sitting there. You've already made your initial back. You're pulling out 10% profit there, and you're sitting pretty. You're sitting pretty. So I suppose that's the one thing I really like to hammer home with anyone. Um, that, and if you aren't in crypto already, get in. You've got
Yeah,
a short period of time where there's still a chance of it's being a case of making some. It's still young enough to have enough volatility to make some insane gains, but it's starting to have enough guardrails where it's safe enough to be able to getting in. It's only got maybe 5 to 10 year period where there will be so much regulation that you'll be looking at finding it hard to be finding projects there where you've got those 10 times gains, right? Which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there's certainly time running out if you're after those hype gains, and you'll need to be getting into crypto soon, because I wouldn't be surprised if they get rid of if fiat dies, or they get rid of it all.
yeah. One of the things I've learned over the years is that there's this, what I'm about to say has everything to do with entrepreneurism and being an entrepreneur, which is, and also a business owner, which is there's a time to be patient, there's a time to take action, and there's
Yep.
a time to take risk, right?
Yep.
And I'm not saying risk is in like you stupidly do it. I mean strategically take risk. Um, because there's been times where like, okay, I was like, I can't really give you an example off the top of my head, but I know there's been probably at least 100 times in my life where I'm like, I'll talk, for example, I'll talk to that other business owner, when I have some time, or I'll reach out to them next week or in a month or whatever. And then what happens is, yeah, and I wanted to talk to him to do business with him, right? And then the next thing I know, they move out of town, right? And some of these things I was thinking about partnering with them, could have been $100,000 deals, right?
Yeah.
So, or maybe 10,000 even. And I'm just like, damn it, like I missed out on the opportunity because I just waited to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And now and I still make that mistake to this day. So I'm not saying I'm perfect and I'm always like taking action and blah blah, but now I'm more very proactive in like, taking action and also taking risk. Like number one, let's just be straightforward. Like crypto in general is risky. Okay. And the
Yeah.
reason why is risky is because it's not regulated. The government, even though they're starting to take action now, and I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in the United States, like, they're starting to ask you about it on your tax forms and blah blah blah. And you hear about it on the news seldomly right now, blah blah blah. But still it's unregulated, and like Grover was saying, we have this runway right now to take action and kind of figure it out and see where we are. I mean, you know,
At, at the moment, the best analogy that I have for crypto is we're on an on ramp that doesn't have rails. Right? At the
mhm.
moment, all right, we're on the on ramp to the high to the freeway, and it doesn't have guardrails. And in 5 to 10 years' time, it's going to be a highway with guardrails and speed cameras.
Yep. I 100% agree, man. And at that point in time, there might not be protocols like Plazm and things like
Well,
that. They're probably be
that's well, they'll have all. I can see Plazm existing in that environment. I mean, like there will have to be some legal legal hoops that that will be needed to be jumped through, simply because there would be a classification of what type of asset it is, and blah de blah de blah. That's just the way that regulation does, and what regulation is. What will happen is things that are currently illegal in financial circles, for example, Ponzi's, right? I mean, like, while yes, they do happen, and you have all of these pyramid schemes, but in reality, they are illegal, right? If someone gets caught running a pyramid scheme, it's jail time. It's not something that's looked at lightly. The SEC will slam you if they think that if it's not correctly labelled as either as whatever it is, you will get slammed. That's all of those outskirt things that really are financial scams. Right? When you actually break them down, are financial scams, simply because they're just recycling money. They're just or getting money from new people in, and the people like it's they're the types of things that regulation is supposed to get rid of, and that's the ones that won't survive. I mean, like ones with projects with real yield that have audits that are doing all the right things. Sure, they may have to jump through some legal hoops, but they are going to be the ones that survive.
right. Yeah, and I I'm just hoping, for the best in the future for crypto. And I would definitely, I mean, I know it's going to happen eventually, but uh, when we finally get to that era globally, where essentially whether it's one token globally that we all pay with, or each country or whatever has its own token or whatever, who knows how that's all going to work. But when we start really taking crypto as payment, and I here's you know what here's some alpha that I said on a video on this channel when it was called something else a long time ago, like a couple years ago, but I might have made that video private. But I'll say it again, and it kind of has to do with what we're talking about here. And this is about history, okay? And I hate history. That was my least favorite class in school, was history.
It tells the future, though.
Correct. And so here's what it is. If maybe some of you watching this are as old as me or older than me even, but there's gonna be some of you that are way younger and you don't know anything about what I'm about to say regarding history. So I'm gonna try to quickly break it down. In the beginning of time, so to speak, when people were paying for things, um, they were trading goods or services as payment. What is the term for that, Grover? I'm having a mind blank right now.
Trading, trading, or bartering or trading, I
Bar
suppose you could. Yeah,
bartering. That's the term I was looking for. They're bartering. So, for example, they're saying, if you're like a farmer, like, I got a cow, I'll give you some milk, but you're what are they called? It like a steelsmith
baker.
or someone
Yeah, yeah,
someone that makes like steel or metals or whatever,
yeah,
ironsmith, they're called.
yeah,
I need horseshoes for my horse. So
yeah.
let's trade milk for horseshoes, essentially, blah, blah, and vice versa. This happened for different types of things, right? So where I'm going with this is timeline of and speed of essentially how fast someone could become wealthy. And and because there was essentially no physical money being traded or exchanged back in the day, then essentially the speed to wealth was very slow and took a very long time. Okay, now let's speed up to the time when now, kings and queens or whoever the hell it was has, gold or silver or jewels or whatever, right? And eventually, I think even some kingdoms or rulers or whatever, they probably eventually even have their own kind of coin or whatever. I don't really know because I'm bad at history. But the point is they had some sort of physical thing to trade and said, "Oh, I have this much gold or this much silver. Give me some milk or give me some horses or whatever. I'll trade you for this," right? So now we will go from bartering to this, and now the speed of wealth is now going faster, right? And the reason I thought about this was not because I'm a history buff and I was there, but it was because when I was born, not when I was born, but during when I was growing up, essentially was when the credit card was introduced and used as payment for when you went to go out to eat or shop or whatever. And I'm sure you remember this, Grover, but you remember like the credit card machines where you put your credit card on this thing and yeah, and they like yeah,
Yep.
carbon
Yeah.
copy it or whatever.
Yeah.
So think about this, everybody. This is super important that you understand this, the history, because you'll understand where we're going. So we have credit cards, not even debit cards, credit cards introduced as a form of payment when we go out, except they were not taken digitally. There was no internet at the time, and I don't even think we had
Mhm.
dial-up internet yet. And essentially, what would happen was, for all you kids out there that know nothing about this, they would come to you like you're out at dinner, and they would take your credit card, put it on this thing, go over it with this other thing. I don't know what it's even called, but basically you would like kind of carbon copy your credit card information, the number, and I don't even think they had
Yep.
freaking expiration codes on them back then, Grover, but
Expiration date, no, number, and and name.
in the name. And
Yep.
then essentially uh the business would then take that and I guess submit it to the credit card companies to basically get money, cash or a check. And then the credit card essentially would send you a bill saying you spent, you charged $50 or whatever it is at Denny's or the market or the grocery store, and here we are, right? And before that, by the way, there was checks. So we go from bartering to jewels and gold and silver to eventually the US dollar and coins. Then eventually checks come out that sped up the speed of wealth, and then credit cards. And then after credit cards, then eventually we get the internet, and now we have debit cards, which allows you to
Yep.
come in and out of, don't have to go into a bank anymore. We just go to the ATM to pull out money. And then
Yep.
eventually we're able to use our debit cards and credit cards digitally at stores to pay for stuff. And that exploded the speed of wealth. Then we had the internet. Oh my gosh, the internet. The internet shows up. And now we can pay for things online. What do you think happened then? The speed of wealth even goes way faster. And then there might be even something else I'm missing. But then the next biggest catalyst that ever came to be after that was the blockchain and crypto. And when I realized this timeline of history, I said to myself, "Oh my God, this speed of wealth is probably going to go 1 million times faster now, not only because technology and speed of blockchain, but because we are now going to be able to transact payments or currency globally faster than we can right now through non blockchain technology."
Mhm.
And I'm like, holy smokes! This means that if you're smart, you should be uh, start getting involved in crypto and positioning yourself, business and or otherwise, in the crypto space so that you can be one of the people that knows about this and start making money as quickly as possible, because this will make millionaires outside of just Plazm, outside of just holding tokens and waiting for them to depreciate. We're talking about real business stuff where you're selling a good or a service. You'll be able to become way richer, way faster if you embrace the blockchain.
Definitely. I mean, I also think that there's one other thing that you need to add into that. There's been a period of speed of debt.
Yeah,
All right,
true that.
that's speed of debt. All right. Now, speed of debt has increased since I think it was 71. Nixon got rid of the gold standard, or about then. Basically, since then, right, America, right, has been accumulating. Oh my God, I don't know how you can honestly have $40 trillion of debt, but has been accumulating debt. That the speed of debt has increased at the same rate because you've
Mhm.
got now got, as you said, it started off with gold standard. You've got a dollar here that's worth a dollar's worth of gold over there. It all the same everywhere, right? If you had 1 ounce of gold in America, it was worth the same amount as 1 ounce of gold in Africa, wherever, right? It was a base rate. Then you had the gold standard removed, and countries' value was based on debt. That's when everything started to crumble. Right? Since then, everybody's wealth is determined upon how much debt they've accumulated, not just being able to buy things, but you've got a credit card. And what's that? It's not an accumulation of wealth, it's an accumulation of debt. Right? Because you may pay $50 for a meal, right? They may charge $50 at the restaurant, but I guarantee you're not paying Visa $50 to pay for that meal. You're paying Visa $55, $60 for that meal that cost you $50. So that's where and that's also where it's causing the whole system to die, right? That whole debt system is causing it to die, and that's why crypto is going to be the evolution, because it's not a debt-based system, right? It was developed in 2009, I believe, because of the world financial crisis of well, Satoshi and whoever it was, or whoever actually developed it, no one really knows, basically saw the problem. That fiat is based upon debt, right? And you can't have a debt-based system that won't collapse, right? So that's why crypto is going to be the way, because it's not like you can you have to have the money in the wallet to transfer the money. Right? There's I can't give you 20 ETH and not have 20 ETH in my wallet. It just won't happen. Right? Sure, you can take out loans, and there is that process able, but you can't bit more Bitcoin. You can't mint more Bitcoin to create a debts or inflation. It's it's a system that enables to be able to generate real wealth without debt.
See, Grover's a smart guy. Like, I never thought about it that way, but it's like when you hear him talk about it, it's like that's actually really true. I never thought about that, like the simplest term you said or simplest thing you said was you have to have the money in your wallet, the crypto in your wallet in order to send it to someone else. There are no, you know, credit cards, so to speak, in crypto. So,
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, there are obviously, I mean, like, there are lending platforms and what have you. But that's, in all honesty, that's a private agreement between a contract and you, or whatever. I mean, like, so you've got something that you've used for collateral to get that loan, right? To be able to
right.
utilize it. But the thing is, you still have to have those funds in your wallet to be able to spend them or send them somewhere, right? How you've obtained them, that's a different matter. But you have to physically have them. It's not like you can go, all right, I'm spending your money and giving it to them, and I'll give you money back. There's no way there's that trust intermediary. It's a I'm giving 20 ETH to you because I've got 20 ETH in my wallet.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, those of you that are watching this video and you don't know about crypto backed loans, and by the way, maybe you have heard Grover, but I haven't. I've never heard of a non-crypto backed loan, meaning, and again, those of you that don't know, the only loans, crypto loans I've seen is essentially a loan where you have to put crypto as collateral. So, for example,
Yeah.
you have to come in to like Aave, for example, with
Yep.
$1,000 worth of ETH, for example.
Yep.
Except the only thing that happens when you do that is, and I'm not sure about the percentage of the ratios, Grover, but I think it's roughly like 30-40%. You can only essentially take out a loan against your ETH of 30 to
Yep.
40%, which
That's right.
let's just say it's 40% for argument's sake. That
Yep.
means that's $400 out of the thousand you can take out as a loan against your $1,000 of ETH,
Yep.
which I had a hard time understanding this when I first heard about it because I just didn't get it. And then I I figured it out. And the way I figured it out or thought about it was if you ever go to a pawn shop and you pawn
Yep.
your gun or your TV or your radio or whatever, and you're not selling it to them. They're basically keeping it as collateral and giving you
That's
money as
right.
a loan, and then you are paying a fee or interest to have them not sell it. And in the event that you don't pay this fee or interest every month, and then they basically will sell your whatever it is, your radio,
That's right.
your gun.
That's right. I mean, like you're giving them something, and like that's generally what you're giving them is something that's either a non fungible thing. So, for example, in the case of a pawn shop, it might be a guitar, and you want some cash for a guitar, but you want the option to be able to get that guitar back, right? Or in the case of things like crypto, you're giving them a volatile token for a stable token. So they go, well, okay, Ethereum might dump 20% in a day, right? So I've got to have some playroom here. I can't give you one-to-one backing for that for US dollar, right? I can only allow you 60% of what you've given me because I want to have some leeway. All right, if you don't pay me back, I'm going to sell a lot of it. But on the flip side as well, is there will be a liquidation point. So you may have borrowed 60% of the value. If it drops down to 40% of the, sorry, not quite that far. So it's at 70% of the value, right? They go, well, fine, too bad, so sad. All that F's mine, and I make a 10% profit.
We're selling your guitar.
Exactly. We're selling your Fender guitar for $2,000, and we only gave you one.
Right. Yeah. So for those of you watching, there's the short version of it all, but there's tons of YouTube videos about borrowing and lending crypto. But yeah, it's just like what you said, man. Like coming into crypto or coming on chain, in essentially a debt-free environment, is basically proof that you have to have the money to play the
there,
game.
yeah, there is always one point where you've either had to supply the money directly or earned the money directly. You and so forth. Yes, you can borrow money, but you've got to supply something to borrow that money. There's no areas where you can just go, oh yeah, I'll owe you so much. Right? There's none of that area where you go, oh yeah, hey mate, I'll borrow $100 off you and give it to you later.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Grover, it was this was an awesome call. I learned a whole bunch of stuff, and I think that's like one of the coolest things about doing these AMAs, at least for me, is like I learn stuff like when I talk with you guys, like you, AJ. and some of the other people I've done calls with, like I'm just
Well,
constantly
I just
learning.
hope that I've done the same for others. I mean, the best thing anyone can do in crypto is educate others. All right. An educated investor is a smart investor, and they're the ones that you want investing in whatever you're investing, because they're the ones that make DeFi, crypto, and so forth grow and make projects grow.
100%. And on top of that, everybody watching this video, you are hearing and learning from people that have been in the industry for a long time. Grover's been in longer than me. AJ's been in longer than me, and they've seen a lot more stuff than I have. But
Mm.
even from me, you can still learn because let's say you've been in for a year. Well, I've been in crypto. I think we kind of discovered it was back in 2016 or so. Um, but it's like learn from our failures.
Yeah.
Don't get scammed. Don't get robbed.
Never hand out your key phrase.
Yeah, yeah. Don't do any of that stuff, you know?
How many new crypto people have fallen for that one? Hand out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, well, Grover, it was nice to officially, meet you via Zoom or via live call, and
Yep.
we got to see your face. I'm pretty sure everybody's excited about that. In fact, the
Didn't
name of
scare anyone, I hope.
the, I think the name of the video is going to be "I got Grover's face. He's wanted" or something like that. Maybe I could put the thumbnail like "wanted."
Yeah. Mm. Well, see Grover and the chickens.
Grover, yeah, yeah, Old Mick Grover had a farm, yeah. Well, it's
Right,
crazy,
well,
guys. We
must be getting late for you over there.
yeah, it's about to hit 1 a.m. And when we started this call, it was already dark over here in California, but it was definitely light at Grover's part of the world, and now it's turning dark. So
Yeah,
probably isn't
it's
a
it's
good sign
it's
to
8 o'clock now.
yeah, probably a good sign to cut this one off. So
Yeah,
Grover,
not a problem.
we will be in touch again because I'm pretty sure the next time that we do chat, we'll be talking about your project that's coming out.
Definitely, I will be having a chat with you about the project that's coming out, and I suppose the tiny bit of alpha I will give you is it will give eShare a use case. So eShare is pretty low. Not financial advice, but financial advice. Perhaps it's a good idea to stack up on some eShare.
Yeah, if you're not bullish on eShare right now, I don't know what's going on with you because the to me, Grover, the signs are clear as day, and I'm definitely, building a position where
Yeah.
I'm like, once this hits, just like you said, I, triple digit eShare. I said that in one of my videos. I said I believe in the next year eShare is going to get to $200 and then go beyond that in the subsequent years. So, if
Well,
go ahead.
a, a tiny little bit more alpha for you guys. Well, if you had a project that enabled you to earn even more on what you've already earned as far as eShare is concerned, that would be really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so maybe that'll halt some people from selling and more kind of hodling for lack of a better term so that we eventually see what you're talking about, Grover.
Yes. Well, I definitely will be having an AMA and discussing it in depth. I've tried to plug all the holes in it as best I can.
Yeah, all right, cool. 100%. All right, Grover.
Right.
It was nice chatting with you, and I'll see you on the next one.
Right. Yeah. Catch up.
Thank you,
Bye.
brother. Bye.